Hi, I'm Colin and welcome to How to Paint Watercolors. So if you're ready, we'll get started and we'll paint this one. Hello everyone, welcome back to Painting Watercolors, some tips and techniques. I'm going to combine a sunset with a winter mountain scene. So I've wet the paper, £140 Bockingford watercolour paper, extra rough. Some people ask me about makes of paints. Use whatever you have. Don't even have to use these colours. Seaver's blue with burnt sienna, Seaver's blue burnt sienna with some burnt umber, Seaver's blue burnt umber and French ultramarine. We have cadmium yellow burnt sienna, cadmium yellow burnt sienna, cadmium yellow burnt sienna. 3 different stages of oranges. Raw umber with French ultramarine and a bit of this mixed with a little bit more burnt umber just to give us a little grey. A long explanation that. So I think we'll put some yellow in here, and I'm using a small brush for this. Get a bit of strength in that. Please remember to try and use the comment section, it really does help, and the thumbs up button with YouTube's algorithm. Bring this down here. This should light up this mountain. Then I'm going to take some of the Seaver's blue and burnt sienna. I'm just going to test it. I wanted a grey blue, very pale. I have got some masking fluid on the mountains just to keep them clean. Like I say, you don't have to use these colours, use your own. I encourage that. If you hear me sniffling, I think I have a cold, so I'm sorry. You might have to put up with that. I'd like to thank all the people that left comments over the videos over the years. I really appreciated that, and I do try to answer. Now we can begin to have a little bit of fun with this, and I'm going to streak some cadmium yellow light and some burnt sienna. Sort of muted ones because the sun's very low in the sky, so I'm going to use some muted colours in it. So I'm going to use the mid-range first. Come into a darker colour. Just drop some of this in here. Just try and leave a little bit of the other colours to show through. I'm just going to drop some water along some of this as we go, just to help push this colour around a little bit. Because these are very heavy colours. I'm coming into the darker mixture of Seaver's blue with burnt sienna, and actually I think it's a little bit of French ultramarine in this. Once again, just streaking some of this in, very pale over here. A really dark one. It's more French ultramarine and burnt umber in it, but still contains Seaver's blue. Darken parts of it really add some interest. As it goes darker, we should focus your eye in, all nice and wet. Just a little bit of water. Just encouraging it to become soft around the edges. Streaks in, maybe a couple of clouds in there. We're just going for a really interesting sky. I also want to drop a little bit of this colour in here. Just helps to add interest into it. trying not to work this in. I'm going to let the water do the spreading out. Tiny bit up there. Once again, I'm just using water to soften all this heavy paint. One or two darker streaks in. We need some dark in this corner. With the paper being so wet, you have plenty of time. And then I want to just soften this edge again. We'll take this in sections. So we'll paint each part of the painting separate. And that way you'll be able to adjust your values and your tones. This is Lake Buttermere in the Lake District. Beautiful place I've been, and you know, I don't think I want to fiddle with this anymore. I'm just going to let this naturally dry. Fiddling can be the biggest killer of your painting, so I want to let that dry. Now that your sky's reasonably dry, when I say dry, I normally let the paint dry till it's a velvet finish, and I'm just giving you a tip. Keep the bottom part, the unpainted part, wet. That way it won't cockle the paper. I've taken the masking fluid off, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wet the whole of these mountains right up to the line. And we're going to take a mixture of Seaver's Blue and Burnt Sienna, and it's stronger than the sky colour because these will have depth. And I'm going to drop this in. I'm going to add some sort of shadow to this. Most of this is in shadow. I don't want it too strong. I don't think you'll see it on this mountain here. I'm going to put some in. I might leave some to show. Seaver's Blue and Burnt Umber. It's a little slightly darker grey blue, and we can start to just put a little bit of darker shadow on it. The Seaver's Blue does contain a white which is mixed in with the paint from the manufacturers, or you could just use cobalt blue and white. I don't often use white in paint mixing, although I have mellowed over the years. Just adding this second shadow, deeper shadow. I don't want too much of this on. I do want it to show through, a bit darker down in the gully. Maybe just a little there. And then I'm going to let that dry, remove any excess water off it. And then just allow that to dry. Now that's dry. You could take that sky and put it in a different painting if you wish to. I've just taken some of the raw umber and French ultramarine, and I've just darkened it with a touch more. And the bottom half of this is still wet because like a tip is to keep it wet so it keeps stretched. And I'm using a detail brush, and we're going to put some rocks and crags in on this mountain. There's very little paint on the brush. You can always add. It can be difficult to take off. And I'll just let this bounce a little bit. I'll have to bring this down. And if you use the side of the brush, you'll get a hit and miss effect. you can create the direction of the crags with the direction stroke of your brush. So that one's a sideward stroke. You can sort of build your mountain up slowly. With the hit and miss effects, you get gaps in between your strokes to create the cracks. So if I just curl it round with a slightly different shape, makes it very interesting. You can get a good representation of where your rocks and crags are, and you can also come in afterwards and darken some of it, making sure my hands are dry. So you can plan this, but sometimes it's best not to really think too much about it. Get it on. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section. Comments are always welcome. Or you can join me on Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description box. I'll also leave some suggestions on at the end of this video for other videos I've made, should you wish to have a look. Come into this one. Hope you can see that hit and miss effect. It's really good. Create a little bulge here. So just bring it over in an arc. And just wiggle it out, as I like to say. French ultramarine and raw lumber. Bring the bottom half of this in. I'm going to leave a couple of gaps in between it to allow the snow to show through. I'm going to soften this in so there's no really hard edges on it. Just a little bit of water in the brush tip. We'll be putting a darker tone on this. I'm just placing that on there. This will be darker as well, but I just want some light and dark patches in it, just for some variance really. Just while it's wet, I'm just going to add some darker spots to bring this forward. Because I don't want these two to run together, I'll have to let a little bit of it dry off, and then you can let that dry. Okay, that's dry. I'm just going to put some darker spots in now. This is the raw lumber French ultramarine. What I actually did was just add a little bit more, just a little bit of burnt umber to this, just to make it really dark, so it will force this mountain back and bring this forward hills forward. That makes some kind of sense. Just place this in, and it's just giving some shape and form and dark patches to it. And I want to take a damp brush and just start to soften some of these edges in. Drop some along the bottom there for now. Put some dark in this as well. just to put movement and dark patches in the hills, you know, like a lot of deep grass and bushes kind of thing. Too far away for you to make anything out, which can work out well for you. Soften some of these edges right off, allowing some dark and light. Put some water on the bottom of the paper. And let's set off all the sky colours really. Some cadmium yellow. Some of the Seaver's blue in. Horizontal strokes. I'm going to catch the bottom of this, allow this to drift into it. I'm just going to drop this in on the edge. The board is laying flat for this. I don't want massive reflections. It's just a hint. Burnt sienna, cadmium yellow. These are just the sky colours he saved from the beginning when we put the sky in. Once again, I'm just dropping some water in just to allow this to push the reflection and colours about. A little darker in this corner. I might even just drop a little water along the edge here, and maybe we'll get a little bit of mist going. Then I'm going to leave that to dry. Now that's dry, what we're going to do is just going to put a little bit of movement into the water, and I'm going to put some wind streaks in. You could use white paint for this, but this is the best way to get straight edges on them, or a straight line. Just a ruler and a craft blade, and I don't want a shoreline in because we have a little bit of mist and you wouldn't see the shoreline. That's about all I want to do to that. And this is where you get to sign it, put a mount round and frame it. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Like I said, please leave a comment, it all helps. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.